Ladies and gentlemen, investors at all levels, listen very carefully because today I'm bringing you an urgent, no-fluff wake-up call. Important warning to all investors. 2025 has unleashed stock market chaos the likes of which we haven't seen in years, and whether you're just starting or you're already in the game, this message could save your portfolio for those of you dialing in from zero. Buckle up because we're heading from zero to CEO right now. The market has always been a battlefield of winners and losers, but what we're witnessing now is no ordinary turbulence. It's a wake-up call. If you've been sitting back, relying on the same old charts, the same outdated strategies, the same comfortable routines, then hear me clearly. The rules of the game have shifted, and the only thing more dangerous than volatility itself is being unprepared for it. Every swing in the market is more than just a number on a screen. It's a test of your mindset. Too many investors freeze when the red candles hit, thinking, maybe it will recover, maybe I'll just wait. That hesitation. That's the silent killer. Volatility doesn't punish those who act with clarity. It punishes those who stand still, hoping yesterday's strategies will protect them tomorrow. The market isn't here to comfort you. It's here to separate the prepared from the panic. And let's get something straight. Volatility is not the enemy. The true enemy is your reaction to it. When the market rips up or crashes down, that's the market screaming, wake up, adjust, pay attention. The problem is most people treat it like chaos to fear, instead of a signal to sharpen their approach. The ones who panic sell. The ones who buy blindly without a plan. Those are the ones who feed the machine. The ones who win are those who see through the noise, who step back and ask, what's the pattern here? Where is the opportunity hiding beneath the fear? Think of volatility as fire. It can burn you if you stumble into it without discipline, but it can also be harnessed to fuel your growth if you know how to manage it. Every drop in the market forces you to recheck your foundation. Do you even know why you're holding the assets you have? Do you have an exit strategy? Do you have a stop loss? Or are you simply praying that things will work themselves out? Because prayer is not a strategy, and hope is not risk management. Here's the hard truth. Volatility exposes weakness. It shows you whether you've been coasting on luck or operating with real skill. In calm waters, anybody can look like a genius, but when the storm hits, only the disciplined rise. If you've been over-leveraging, chasing hype, stacking all your chips on a single bet, volatility is going to humble you. And that's not a punishment, it's a lesson. It's the market giving you feedback in real time. Diversify smarter, control your exposure, sharpen your edge. At the same time, volatility is also the great equalizer. It's the rare moment when the market resets, when bloated assets are slashed down to reality, when panic discounts incredible opportunities. The ones who are prepared, mentally, emotionally, and strategically, don't see a crash as disaster. They see it as a clearance sale. They step in when others are running out. They build when others are breaking down. That's why the wake-up call isn't just about risk, it's about awareness. You have to train your eyes to see beyond the panic. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Nobody likes watching their screen bleed red. But ask yourself, do you want to be the person who lets fear dictate every move, or the person who treats volatility like a teacher? Every drop is telling you something about sentiment, about the bigger economic picture, about the strength or weakness of the assets you've chosen. Are you listening or are you just reacting? The wake-up call is simple. Stop treating volatility as an interruption and start treating it as the environment. This is the new normal. You cannot rely on yesterday's stability to build tomorrow's fortune. You have to be agile, adaptive, and above all disciplined. Every investor faces the same storm, but the outcome depends entirely on how you sail your ship. Some will sink because they were overconfident, unprepared, or asleep at the wheel. Others will steer through, not because the storm was easy, but because they respected it enough to adjust their sails. So when the next violent swing rattles the markets, and make no mistake, it's coming, you have two choices. You can view it as a threat, panic, and join the crowd of shaken investors scrambling in fear, or you can view it as exactly what it is, the loudest, clearest signal that now is the time to step up, refine your strategy, and play the game at a higher level. Volatility is the wake-up call not to quit, not to retreat, but to evolve. Those who ignore it will be washed out. Those who answer it will come out sharper, smarter, and stronger. The market is calling. The question is, are you going to wake up? One of the biggest traps investors fall into isn't fear, it's comfort. Comfort in the illusion that markets are stable, predictable, and that the patterns of the past will neatly repeat themselves in the future. That illusion feels safe, but it's dangerous. It's what I call false stability, the mirage that convinces you things are fine, right before the ground shifts under your feet. And if you're not careful, it's the lie that can cost you everything. Markets are masters of deception. They lure people into believing the calm before the storm will last forever. They put you to sleep with steady climbs, with green candles that seem endless, with headlines that say, "The worst is over." And right there, in that moment of comfort, investors relax their guard, stop paying attention to deeper signals, and start making reckless assumptions. But here's the truth. The market doesn't reward assumptions. It rewards awareness. And if you can't tell the difference between stability and stagnation, between noise and signal, you're already at risk. False stability is when you're convinced the trend will continue just because it's been moving in one direction. It's when investors start thinking it can't fall any further, or this bull run will last forever. But real signals don't come from comfort. They come from data, from movement, from behavior that doesn't fit the narrative. A sudden spike in volume, an unusual divergence between sectors, shifts in bond yields, global headlines that don't align with stock market optimism. These are the whispers before the shout. These are the signals that tell you what's coming, while everyone else is hypnotized by the calm. Think about it. The 2008 crash, the 2020 pandemic drop, the sudden collapses of big names. Before every one of these, there were signs. The market was speaking, but people weren't listening. Why? Because they were addicted to the illusion of stability. They saw green, they saw momentum, and they thought, "I'm safe." That's the trap. Safety is never guaranteed. The market is a living, breathing organism. It doesn't stay still for anyone. And the moment you let your guard down, it reminds you why discipline matters. Here's the thing, false stability isn't just dangerous, it's seductive, it feeds greed. When the market looks stable, people stop questioning, stop analyzing, and start doubling down. That's when overleveraging happens. That's when bad bets get bigger, and then, when the cracks start showing, it's already too late. By the time the false stability breaks, panic sets in, and the majority lose. Real signals, on the other hand, are rarely comfortable. They don't scream safe. They often feel counterintuitive. That's why most ignore them. When markets look good, nobody wants to hear the warnings, but the few who listen, the few who pay attention, they're the ones who position themselves correctly. They move before the herd, they act on whispers while everyone else is still drunk on comfort. That's what separates leaders from followers in investing, not luck, but the discipline to see beyond the illusion. And here's the tough love. If you're only looking at surface-level charts and headlines, you're already behind. Real signals live beneath the noise. They're in the liquidity flows, in the behavior of institutional money, in the contradictions between what the media says and what the data proves. Most investors won't dig that deep because it takes work. But if you want to rise above the chaos, you don't have a choice. You can't be a surface-level observer. You need to be a strategist who recognizes the difference between what's being presented and what's actually happening. So, the question you have to ask yourself is this: are you operating off illusions, or are you reading the real story? Because the people who cling to false stability will always be blindsided when the shift comes. They'll be the ones asking, "How did this happen?" while the ones who saw the signals are already positioned to win. The market doesn't care about excuses. It only cares about whether you saw the truth in time. And let me be clear, spotting real signals doesn't mean you'll predict every move perfectly. Nobody does. But it does mean you won't be caught flat-footed. You won't be paralyzed by surprise, and you'll be prepared to adjust with clarity instead of fear. That's the difference. That's what saves portfolios, careers, and futures when chaos strikes. False stability is the lullaby that puts investors to sleep. Real signals are the alarm clock that wakes leaders up. Most will choose the lullaby because it feels good. But if you want to rise, if you want to win in a market that shows no mercy, you need to answer the alarm. You need to train your mind to see through comfort and into reality. Because comfort won't protect your capital. Clarity will. The illusion will always look tempting, but the signals will always tell the truth. The only question is, are you willing to hear it? When the market collapses, most people see disaster. They see their screens dripping red, their confidence evaporating, their carefully built portfolios shaking. Panic takes over, and the majority either freeze or flee. But here's the paradox. The very moment that terrifies the masses is the same moment that creates the greatest opportunities for those who are prepared. Chaos doesn't destroy everyone, it creates a split. Some sink, some rise, and the only difference between them is perspective. Chaos is the great reset button. It strips away the noise, it reveals the fragile players, and it reprices everything. The companies that were bloated with hype get cut down to reality. The weak hands get flushed out, and in that brutal process, hidden gems appear. Assets that were once overpriced suddenly become accessible. Businesses that still have strong fundamentals, but were dragged down by fear, suddenly trade at discounts. But only those with clarity, patience, and courage will recognize it. Most people miss this because they're trapped in the cycle of fear. They believe chaos means stay out. They think losses today guarantee losses tomorrow. But the truth is, when fear reaches its peak, opportunity is at its greatest. History proves it. The investors who stepped in during the darkest days of past crashes, the ones who bought when everyone else was selling, the ones who doubled down on strength when the world was paralyzed, those are the people who came out legends. While the crowd cried, they calculated. While the masses ran, they positioned. The trick is not to deny chaos, but to read it. Chaos is not random. It has patterns. Look at liquidity. Look at sentiment. Look at where money is fleeing and where it's slowly trickling back. That's not noise. That's a map. It's telling you where the fear is overblown and where the real damage lies. In every correction, some companies are doomed. But others are unfairly punished simply because they are caught in the storm. Your job isn't to blindly buy the dip. Your job is to distinguish between what's dying and what's discounted. And yes, it's uncomfortable. It takes guts to step into the market when everyone else is screaming about collapse. But opportunity doesn't wait for comfort. It hides in discomfort, in fear, in noise. If you only act when it feels safe, you'll always be too late. By the time the crowd feels confident again, the bargains are gone, the rebound has started, and the winners have already taken their positions. Here's the mindset shift you need. Chaos is not a threat, it's a filter. It filters out the weak players, both in the market and in the investor base. It exposes who has conviction and who only had convenience. It punishes the undisciplined and rewards the strategic. And if you can train yourself to look at chaos as data, as information, as opportunity, then you stop fearing it and you start leveraging it. This doesn't mean recklessness. It doesn't mean jumping in blindly just because prices are lower. It means doing the hard work others are too scared to do, analyzing balance sheets while others are panicking, tracking cash flows when others are distracted by headlines, looking for resilience in industries that will survive long after the panic fades. Opportunity is hidden, but it's never invisible. It's there for the ones who are willing to look deeper than the surface. Think about this. Every major fortune built in the market had its roots in a moment of chaos. Nobody built generational wealth by following the crowd when things were easy. They built it by going against the current when fear was loudest. They didn't see chaos as the end. They saw it as the beginning of a new cycle. And that's the key. Chaos isn't permanent. Fear fades. Markets recover. But what you do during the storm determines whether you emerge stronger or weaker. So when the next wave of chaos hits, and it will, you have a choice. You can join the panic, complain about losses, and wait for stability while opportunities slip away. Or you can step back, clear your mind, and start asking the real questions. What's undervalued? What's being mispriced? Where is strength hiding beneath the surface? That's how you find the opportunities nobody else sees. The reality is simple. Chaos will always come. You can't avoid it, you can't control it, but you can decide how to respond. And if you choose to see it not as destruction, but as a doorway, you'll discover what most investors never will, that the greatest fortunes are forged in the fire, not in the calm. Opportunity doesn't announce itself. It disguises itself as chaos. The ones who know how to look beneath the disguise, those are the ones who win. When the market is calm, everybody feels like a genius. Portfolios rise, confidence grows, and discipline slips. That's the trap, because when volatility hits, when chaos floods in, when prices swing violently and the crowd starts panicking, all that surface-level confidence gets exposed. The difference between those who survive and those who get wiped out comes down to one thing: resilience. And resilience doesn't come from luck, it comes from strategy. Risk management that protects you when everything else is falling apart. You don't need a plan when everything is green. You need a plan when the floor drops beneath you. That's why risk management is not optional. It's survival. Without it, every dip feels like a disaster, every correction feels like the end, and every trade becomes an emotional roller coaster. But with it, you can weather storms without flinching because you've already built guardrails. You've already accepted that markets move in cycles, that downturns are inevitable, and that your job is not to predict every move, it's to protect your capital, so you're still standing when the opportunities emerge. Too many investors focus only on the upside. They chase gains, chase trends, chase hype. They tell themselves, I'll get out before it drops. But when the drop comes, they freeze. They forget the first rule of this game. Before you make money, you must not lose money. Protecting the downside is more powerful than chasing the upside, because opportunities only matter if you're still in the game to take them. Resilience means preparing for the hit before it comes. It means diversifying so that no single shock can take you out. It means setting stop losses so emotion doesn't dictate your exit. It means holding cash reserves when everyone else is fully exposed, because you understand that liquidity is power. It's not about avoiding risk, it's about controlling it. Risk is inevitable, but unmanaged risk is lethal. Think of it like a fighter in the ring. The strongest aren't the ones who never get hit. They're the ones who take the hit, stay on their feet, and keep moving forward. That's resilience, and in the market, resilience comes from preparation. You don't wait until chaos arrives to build it. You build it in advance so that when the punch comes, you're ready. And here's what most people don't realize: resilience isn't passive. It's not just sitting back, holding on, and hoping you survive. It's active discipline. It's making hard choices when greed is telling you to overextend. It's sticking to your exit plan even when your emotions scream otherwise. It's saying no to the hype when everyone else is diving in head first. Discipline feels boring in the moment, but it's what keeps you alive when excitement turns into panic. Risk management is the invisible foundation of every lasting success story. Nobody brags about their stop losses or their diversification, but those are the very tools that keep portfolios from collapsing. Without them, you're not investing, you're gambling, and the house always wins when you gamble. But when you manage risk, you flip the game. You become the player who knows the odds, who controls the exposure, who walks away stronger no matter how wild the swings get. Look at the investors who have built wealth across decades, through multiple crashes, multiple cycles, multiple once-in-a-lifetime crises. They didn't survive because they predicted every event perfectly. They survived because they built systems that protected them even when they were wrong. That's resilience. That's how you go from surviving one cycle to thriving across many. The lesson is simple. Resilience isn't optional. It's the entry price to play this game long term. If you think only about gains, the market will humble you. But if you build your foundation with discipline, the same chaos that destroys others becomes your chance to grow stronger. So ask yourself, are you prepared for the next storm, or are you exposed? Do you have a plan for when prices crash, or are you hoping you'll figure it out in the moment? Because hope isn't a plan, discipline is. Risk management is. Resilience is. And those who embrace it will always be the ones left standing. The storms will come, they always do. The market doesn't ask for permission to test you. But resilience doesn't mean avoiding the storm. It means being built to withstand it. It means knowing that no matter how hard the winds blow, your foundation won't crack. And when the storm clears, you'll still be there, ready to seize the opportunities that fear leaves behind. That's how you win. When markets turn chaotic, confusion becomes the default state for most investors. Prices swing wildly, headlines contradict each other, experts argue in every direction, and suddenly even the most confident people feel lost. That confusion is natural, but what you do with it determines everything. Some people drown in it. Others use it as the fuel that pushes them toward clarity. And the ones who rise above it become leaders, not just of their portfolios, but of their future. Confusion is not the enemy. Confusion is feedback. It's the market telling you that conditions have shifted, that the old playbook no longer applies, and that you need to upgrade your perspective. Most investors misinterpret confusion as a signal to freeze, to wait for the storm to pass, to cling to certainty that doesn't exist. But leaders understand something different. The market never offers certainty. What it offers is probability, risk, and signals. Clarity doesn't come from waiting. It comes from taking ownership, studying deeper, and making decisions even when the picture isn't perfect. Leadership begins when you stop outsourcing your conviction to others. The confused investor scrolls endlessly through opinions, desperate for someone else to tell them what to do. The leader digs into the data, forms their own thesis, and takes responsibility for their own moves. The confused investor asks, what's everyone else saying? The leader asks, what's the truth hidden beneath the noise? That mindset shift is everything. In chaos, people crave stability. They look for a voice to follow, a strategy to cling to, a sense of direction. This is where leadership emerges, not because the leader knows everything, but because the leader dares to decide when others hesitate. Leadership is not about predicting the future with perfection. It's about giving direction when others are paralyzed. It's about moving with conviction, even when the path is uncertain, and in the markets, that conviction is contagious. Think about the history of crises. The majority panic and retreat, but a few step forward with calm, with clarity, with a plan. They don't eliminate risk, but they embrace it intelligently. They show others that decisions can still be made, opportunities can still be found, and resilience is still possible. That's leadership. And here's the truth, you don't need millions under management to be that leader. You just need the discipline to take charge of your own capital, your own strategy, and your own emotions. Confusion turns to leadership when you choose strategy over reaction. The confused investor reacts emotionally to every swing. Fear when it drops, greed when it climbs. The leader builds a framework, sets rules, and follows them no matter what the crowd is screaming. The confused investor asks, what do I feel right now? The leader asks, what does my plan demand right now? That separation between emotion and execution is the line between confusion and leadership. And leadership isn't just about you, it ripples. When you move with discipline, others around you notice. Friends, colleagues, even strangers in your network see the calm in your decisions while they're panicking. That influence is powerful. Leadership multiplies, and in a world where most people are drowning in confusion, even one voice of clarity can shift the environment. But leadership requires courage. It's not easy to step forward when everyone else is running back. It's not easy to stay disciplined when emotion screams louder than logic. It's not easy to trust your own research when the headlines say the opposite. But that's exactly what makes leadership rare. Most people want certainty handed to them. Leaders build certainty out of uncertainty. They don't wait for confidence. They create it through preparation and decisive action. Here's the reality. The market will never stop being confusing. Data will always conflict. News will always be noisy. Trends will always shift faster than you're comfortable with. But if you make peace with that, if you accept that confusion is a constant, then you stop waiting for clarity to appear and you start building it yourself. And the moment you do that, you've already stepped into leadership. From confusion to leadership is not a straight line. It's a choice to take ownership of your decisions, a choice to put discipline over emotion, a choice to act with conviction in the middle of uncertainty. That's what sets apart the crowd from the winners, and the beauty of it is, anyone can make that choice. It's not about where you start, it's about the decision you make in the storm. So the next time the market throws chaos at you and confusion creeps in, don't run from it. Recognize it for what it is, the invitation to step up, to lead, to take control of your destiny. Because in every moment of confusion, leadership is waiting on the other side, and those who embrace it don't just survive the chaos, they rise because of it. 2025 will go down in history as the year the market tested everyone's true mettle. But here's the bottom line. You're not just here to survive, you're here to rise. From zero insight to CEO-level composure. From chaos-driven panic to clarity-fueled opportunity. So here's your mission, starting right now. Sharpen your data lens, fortify your risk defenses, spot the value in the noise, and move with conviction. Be the investor who doesn't just ride the wave, you lead it. This is your moment. The markets are roaring. But you, yes you, are the calm in the storm, the strategist, the leader, the CEO of your own financial destiny. Let's do this.